good, Regis recipients? How are y'all doing today? Let me know in the comment section. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Regis Reflections. Y'all already know each and every episode we have a different athlete on the podcast. And this week we decided to take it back old school, but not too old. Not too old. We had to bring my dog, Oscar McBride. Say what's up to the people, Oscar.
What up, though? What's happening, everybody? Appreciate you having me on, bro.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So before we get started, how is your mental health right now on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being the lowest and 10 being the greatest.
Ooh, I would say right now about a 5, and that's because we just lost one of our teammates. Oliver Gibson just passed away a couple days ago. Class of '94. We came in together on the same recruiting trip. I've known that cat since like December of 1989. And still friends, till his last day. He threw a big party at his house for the national championship game, and it was cool. There was like 20 dudes from the squad who came. We took a big picture. Reggie Brooks was there. Bryant Young was there. Armelian McGill, myself, Martin Scruggs, Nick Smith, Junior Bryant. There was just Aiden Jarrell. There was so many guys that showed up just to be together. You know what I mean? So usually I'm running about an 8 or a 9 because I'm hitting on all cylinders, but that grief thing is difficult when your relationship was forged in fire, so many years ago, and then you lose somebody that's so unique. Anybody that knew OG, they can tell you he was for sure one of one. You know what I mean? Like there will be no more OGs, but rest in power, bro. Love you. But yeah, I would say I'm about a 5 today.
Okay. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. So prayers not only to his family, but to you and the rest of the
Appreciate it.
teammates. Proud of
Yes,
Notre
sir.
Dame. So we'll keep his name in vain. Regis
Yes.
recipients. Oscar here is a former Notre Dame and NFL football player. He played tight end U. So before we get started into there, let's talk about your upbringing, kind of
Okay.
where you grew up. We know you're from Gainesville, Florida. So I have to ask, non-opinion, I'm from Atlanta. Would you say that Florida is the best state for football or produces the most NFL talent? Be honest. I say Georgia. Do you say you think Florida's up there?
I would say Florida probably produces some of the best athletes. I just don't know that our and I haven't been there for a while. I've been coaching California for the last 27 years. What I can say is, at least my growing up and how we were taught, it wasn't as much technique and understanding of the game. It was more, we were just better athletes. We were going to kick your butt kind of stuff. But I would say, honestly, right now, Georgia's hot. I mean, I've been to a couple of coaching clinics there, just kind of listening to what the guys are doing and how they're going about their business. I mean, Georgia football is great football. And we had the Georgia-Florida All-Star game, when I met Garrison Hurst and Andre Hastings back in the day. G. Hurst is still a good friend to this day. I don't know, man. It's kind of hard to call it. I think statistically, Florida has more guys in the league.
That's true.
But as of late, since that Kirby Smart era began, Georgia has been for real a force to be reckoned with, man. Like for real. Let me say this: that little southeastern corner, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, right there, Florida. Ain't nobody messing with that. Ain't nobody messing with that. For real.
Yeah, the South in general, just the SEC is in a whole is different down here.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. We trying to get out, man. That's the difference. Brothers are trying to get out and trying to better their situation. We're not playing. This isn't for fun. This isn't for Letterman. This isn't for a Letterman jacket. This isn't to get my name in the paper or to get a write-up. This is life. I'm trying to better my situation. So the mindset is a lot different. And you couple that hunger with raw athleticism and just, aggression. You have some really good football players, man.
So growing up in Gainesville, Florida,
all right, time out. I didn't grow up in Gainesville, so Gainesville is the biggest town close to me. My town is Chiefland, Florida. Okay. Highway 19 runs right through it. When I graduated high school, there were 3 stoplights. So I'm from Chiefland, Florida, man, about 35 miles southwest of Gainesville, in the literal swamp.
Okay. You got it.
Yeah, I want the Swamp Boys, man. I'm from the Swamp, man.
Oh, hey, that's some Florida boys, Florida boys.
Yeah, we're from the Swamp for real. But
So, like, so growing up there,
mhm.
how did you get introduced to football? Was football your first sport, or were you playing a multitude of sports at a
football
young
was
age?
my football was my first love. I remember my uncle playing high school football and I always wanted to put on his helmet. You know, he had a like a baby blue, like a powder blue helmet, and they used to say everything's better. So you would know this because you're a young cat. There was this butter called Blue Bonnet,
I know
and
Blue Money. Yeah. I know Blue Money.
that's in the South, right? So
Yeah.
so they used to say there used to be a jingle because everything's better with the blue bonnet on it. So since our football team had blue helmets, they call them bonnets, and we putting that blue bonnet on them. So that was kind of a thing. I remember my uncle saying that when I was a little guy, and I just always wanted to play. My mom's got pictures of me at 3 years old, 2, 3, 4 years old in a football stance. Like, football was all I ever really wanted to do. And thankful to Coach Holtz and Vinny Serrato and all the coaches in the University of Notre Dame for giving me that opportunity for real.
So growing up as a kid, were you a big Miami Dolphins fans? Did you go to U of F or Florida State games? Or were you just more just like you said in the swamp working?
Oh man, I'm in the swamp, bro. Like the stuff that I like when kids were going to summer camp, I was going in a watermelon field. Like I don't eat watermelons to this day. And you from Georgia, you know about that watermelon season. So I spent several several years in the watermelon patch, man. Like you can't even give me a watermelon flavored like flavored piece of gum at this point. I don't want no part of watermelons. But um, it was just being in my town. So we had this class. I don't know if you guys still had it when I was in Notre Dame called Sociology of Sport, and it was based on the book that's now a movie and a series called Friday Night Lights, and it's a true story about I think Permian High School, about kind of how that community was just football, right? And it was kind of like that in my town. Like grocery stores closed on Friday at 7 o'clock. Everybody's closing down because everybody's going to the game. So that was literally like the only game in town. Like we were home, packed. We weren't a big school, and we had like 700 kids. And my high school wasn't like we didn't have junior high back then, so high school was 7 through 12. So everybody's family, all your friends, like if you weren't playing on the field, you were playing in the little side game behind the stands, So it was always football, man. Like when we were growing up, we couldn't wait, to wear the blue bonnet, and then by the time I got to high school, we switched over to yellow. So, and we had like the Florida State spear on the side. We were the Indians, Chiefland Indians. So yeah, man, it was always football. It was always, you know you see, Earl Campbell, the big running back. You see Bo Jackson from Auburn, Herschel Walker from Georgia. Then later on, there's a little later on, there's Emmitt Smith, and those guys that played at Florida. Greg Allen that played at Florida State. All those guys I watched. And then the tight ends, like Pat Carter, who I got a chance to play with at the Cardinals. Pat Carter was the tight end at Florida State. Kellen Winslow at Missouri, and then for the Chargers, Kellen Winslow is why I wore number 80. That was my favorite tight end of all time. So football was it, man. It was truly like this is what I want to do, and blessed with a little bit of size and a tiny bit of speed, and some guts and stick to itiveness and opportunity. You know what I mean? So that's how it all kind of fell in place for me.
Mm, that's God. Glory to God.
All the time, bro.
So
All the time.
what all the time. So throughout your childhood years and kind of your teen years, at what age did it hit when you said, I want to take football serious and take it to the next level?
I was a junior. I was a junior in high school. We were in track. We were in track season. I was at the state meet. I knew Florida State had some interest. They had reached out before. I won the state meet. I had a sinus infection, man, and arguably broke the state record. I had the state record for like 20 minutes, and somebody said that wasn't the mark or whatever. But um, threw the discus, collapsed in the ring, whatever. Spent the rest of the track meet on the bus with cloths on my head. You know, after the state track meet, you know how that goes. Everybody goes and hangs out and has fun. I'm in the room shivering with chills. I get home that Sunday and I get a phone call from Vinny Serrato, who's the recruiting coordinator at Notre Dame.
Mhm.
And he's like, "How'd you like to play for Notre Dame?" And I was like, "What? Are you seriously?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love that very much." And he was like, "All right, well, let's get you dialed in. Let's get you on a recruiting trip." Like, and this is like spring going into my senior year. This is, this is this is spring of '89 when I first got contacted by Notre Dame. And back then you got letters instead of offers, right? The letters were your offer, like, and it wasn't even an offer, no different than it is now. Like some of these young guys, freshmen, sophomores, oh, I got an offer, I got an offer. Well, technically it's not, because unless you're going into your junior year, like June 15th, going into your junior year, June 15th, after your sophomore year, going into your junior year, the offer's not even valid. It's not committable. So when they're offering these younger players, what they're saying is recruiting you. But everybody, all glory to God, I got my fifth offer. Like, bro, you're a freshman. That ain't real. But let them do it. Let them do it, right? Um, yeah, it was just a crazy, like the process was crazy. Like once, I mean, there's no internet, right? There's no streaming. It was crazy. It was like once Notre Dame started recruiting me, it was like my recruiting like went bananas. Then it was, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Georgia Tech, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, Miami. So things just kind of started to snowball after that. And I was like, wow, well, shoot, maybe I am pretty good, you know? And then you get the rankings. We had like the publications, Tom Lemming, you had the USA Today ranked people. I was ranked, in the top three tight ends in the country, and actually ranked in the top four outside linebackers in the country. So it was like one or the other. Um, Alabama wanted me to play outside linebacker, but I told them I wanted to catch touchdowns and say hi, mom, on TV. So, because that was the thing back then. So uh yeah, it was probably my junior year, by the summer of my junior year, going into my senior year, when things really started to take off, started to get noticed, started to get a lot more ink, um, publications and rankings. And again, no combines, no 5-star rival camps, no Under Armour ranking camps. This was all based on film. Like if any of these, like Tom Lemming or Blue Chip recruiting service, if they ever got your film and they looked at your film, they graded your film and that's what you got. It wasn't, this guy from that's coaching at this high school who's working the Under Armour camp, and it wasn't like that. So it's a little bit different. From the spring of '89 up through signing day, which was Valentine's Day of 1990, it was nuts. And there was a lot of decisions to make, man. I mean, I don't have brothers and sisters. I don't have, it's just me and my mom. So it's like, okay, I don't want to be too close to home. But I want to be close enough that she can get to me, but don't be far enough away so I have some anonymity I can grow. And Notre Dame fit that bill, man. It was perfect. It wasn't too big, like Florida State was massive. Ohio State was huge. I was like, no thanks. Like, Coach Coop, I appreciate you, but not gonna be a Buckeye. Like, yeah, there was 50,000 people at the school back then. So
Man, it's even crazier now.
yeah, man, it was nuts. It was nuts. So going to Notre Dame, it was smaller. Like Notre Dame to me was like a big high school because you see the same people every day. Like regardless of what your class schedule is, yeah, you're gonna see the same people, dining hall, like people sit in their same spots, whatever. You get to know people. It was a lot more communal, and that's kind of what I was looking for, being from that small town. So it was crazy, man. It just kind of took off. That's the only way I can really describe it. But it was a
Mm,
blast.
mm.
If I could start over, if I could start life over, bro, I'd start a senior year every single time.
That senior year leading into college is always the best time. Senior year
Oh
to that
man,
first year
yeah,
of college.
100%, 100%, man. All-star games and recruiting trips and stuff like that, and all the pomp and circumstance that came with that, and the articles, and where is he going? You know, it was awesome. It was awesome. I'm mad about the NIL though, because I feel like I would have got some chips. Got some chips, man. But
I hear
gotta,
that a lot from everyone. They wish NIL came when during
man,
their time. Chips.
man. Like we had there was probably of 24 of us in our recruiting class, 24 or 25 of us. I would say at least 15 of us were USA Today All Americans. Because you have Bryant Young, NFL Hall of Famer. You got Jerome Bettis, NFL Hall of Famer. Aaron Taylor, College Football Hall of Famer. Jeff Burris, consensus All American. Tim Ruddy, All American. These are collegiate, right, and professional. Then you got me, Kevin McDougal, Pete Bursich, Brian Hamilton. The our list of All Americans was crazy. So I don't know if Notre Dame would have had enough in the cap, bro.
But the fact that y'all were just like so like higher up, but you all did all this without technology, without money, just for the love of the sport and the game. I think that that's more
Yes.
authentic. Because you see now, kids are like whoever they get the most money, that's where they go. You
Yep.
all kind of went for like you all had a purpose, like in a
Mhm.
mission, which I respect
Yep.
more.
Yep. It was kind of crazy, man. Like on my recruiting trip, I came in with Jerome Bettis, John Covington, Tim Ruddy, and Oliver Gibson, who we spoke about before. And we're having our recruiting trip. We're having a good time together. And the night before our last day, Jerome calls a meeting, like with all of us. Like, hey man, I like y'all. I'm considering going, to this place, but if y'all come, if y'all commit, I'll commit. And we were like, oh shoot. Well, Jerome was like the man, right? So me, John Covington, Tim Ruddy, Oliver. Oliver was USA Today Defensive Player of the Year, and he was out of Romeoville, Illinois. And he decided he was going to come, and I'm like, well, I'm coming, and Love coming, Tim Reddy coming, and all of us came, and all of us were a part of that class of '94, which some people arguably say is the best recruiting class of all time, and that's really how that group of five came in. It's crazy.
So for you personally, how was that transition from high school your senior year, being in Florida, being in the South, the culture, the weather, the food, to your freshman year at Notre Dame? You're not collegiate level, different weather, different
It was
food,
hard,
different
man.
atmosphere. How was that transition?
It was really hard, because as I said, back when I was coming up, the detail of coaching wasn't what I was used to receiving. So, I get to Notre Dame, they're like, hey, step with your left foot, put your left hand here, put your head here, put your right hand here. I'm like, what? My coach was like, see that guy, get him. That was my blocking scheme. So the fundamentals of how to play the game and to be efficient and do those things was something that took me a couple years. I would say I was probably 2 years behind some of my teammates when I got in, just in terms of coaching. Um, but it was hard, man. You go into class, you go from big man on campus to a little freshman, and the seniors when I was coming out, we had Chris Zorich, Ricky Waters, Todd Light, Mike Helt, um, Mirko Jerkovic, rest in peace, Merk. Like there was so much talent and skill. It was great. Rocket left as a junior, which is my freshman year, and signed at that point the biggest football contract ever to go play in Canada with the Toronto Argonauts. So it was a lot, like a lot of moving pieces, a lot of regimented time frames, transitioning quickly from meetings to the field, which I'd never like, we didn't watch, we might watch VHS a little bit, but like it was, everything was completely new and completely uncomfortable for me. So I spent my first full year at Notre Dame being completely uncomfortable. And I got hurt. I broke my wrist. So I broke my wrist, had surgery, missed the season, medically redshirted, didn't get a chance really to participate in the bowl game. I was a 3-day tripper. I came down late, you know. So it was hard, man. There was times I remember one time I called my mom playing Penn State at home my freshman year. I don't even dress. I don't even dress. I'm literally sitting in my dorm room in Flanner. I got the window open so I can hear the cheers in the stadium. I can hear the cheers. I'm not there. I'm not dressed. I'm hurt. I'm like, like it was awful. I call my mom crying, like, Mom, I want to transfer. I want to come home. I want to go back to Florida. And my mom was like, What? Are you really going to let all these people who said you never last at Notre Dame, you're telling me you want them to be right? You're telling me you're going to give up? I was like, No, Mom, it's just really hard, and I'm just sobbing, thinking Mom was going to be like, All right, baby, come home. Man, my mom hung up on me.
She said, "Nah, I'm not playing those games."
Bro, she hung up on me. Like, I was like, Mom, like, hello, hello. She was gone, bro. She hung up. She wasn't trying to have it. I was trying to get out of there, man. And then, which is normal for Notre Dame, you have your teammates, those older teammates, and the guy that really turned me around was a guy named Carmelia McGill. He's from Florida too. Played at Dunedin High School, which is a little further south um, than where I'm from. And he was like, "Look, man, I know it's hard. I know it's difficult, but we'll get through this together." And that, just having that conversation with him and knowing that I wasn't dealing with that alone, or I had someone who was older, who was from my state, who had dealt with the same thing, gave me a little bit more strength, you know. Um, and that's super important. Guys come from all different walks of life. Being homesick, I'm sure you got homesick. Like, that's a part of it, right? But then you think, okay, now I'm in practice. I got these dudes, number one team in the country I'm practicing with, that's trying to take my head off. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just a freshman. I don't really understand what they're saying because I've never been coached this way. And I'm 1,100. I'm sorry, I'm 1,000. What was it from my front door to Flanner was 1,011 miles. I was 1,011 miles from home. So I was a wreck. I was a wreck, man. But my teammates got me through. It wasn't a conversation that we had with coaches. It wasn't a thing where coaches were that nurturing, sympathetic, or empathetic ear. Those are conversations you have with your teammates. So those are the guys that gave you hope, gave you strength. A lot different than, even noticing like how our football team operates in the game. And I get it, offense on the field, defense on the bench, making their adjustments, whatever. We made our adjustments and then we got up, you know. I remember sitting there with the lineman and Coach Moore making adjustments after a series and the defense is on the field. We get done making our adjustments. We're up on the sideline. Hey, Demetrius, get us the ball back. Jeff, get us the ball back. We're going in again. It's not the same. It's not the same. Guys are really focused on their own job, what they have to do on their side of the ball. I think what made us so lethal and what Coach Freeman has brought back is that cohesiveness of brotherhood, you know, um, which is more of a transformational style of coaching, which is an anomaly because everything now is so transactional. You pay me, I come to your school. If you don't continue to pay me, I'm going to get in a transfer report and leave your school, right? It wasn't like that. For us, it was, the carrot was winning national championship and having an opportunity, potentially an opportunity to play on Sundays. I mean, I look at some of these guys now making so much money. Some of these guys aren't going to play on Sunday. That there's just not, and some of them with the bigger numbers are going to take a pay cut. So there's a lot of changes, man, just in the scope of a sport that's given me so much that I was telling my wife the other day, I feel like a dinosaur. There's a lot more intrinsic motivation versus the extrinsic motivators they have now. Money, exposure, um, you know, all of the sponsorships and those types of things that guys have, you know, yeah, we understood that we were our own brands, but those opportunities to grow those brands that wasn't what was most important, you know.
Mhm.
A little different time, man. Old folks.
Y'all are different. Y'all are different. And like I even recall you talking about, you were having an injury and you playing through the injury. So could you just like walk me
Yeah.
through that mindset? What was going through your mind when you got injured and having to play through that and dealing with that?
Yeah, Jack, you froze, bro.
Oh, you can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. So yeah, what are you saying about injury now?
I said when you were talking about when you fractured, you're playing with your fractured hand and jaw as well, playing throughout the season. Walk me through mentally how that was for you, finding out that you were injured and still playing through that.
Man,
Even if this is the first time in your career as well getting injured. Walk me through the
it was
process.
the first time in my career. So freshman year, I broke my wrist, and was out. That was awful. So I come back, have a good sophomore year. I had a couple of All Americans in front of me, eventual first round picks, and Derek Brown and Irv Smith. So it wasn't about jumping in the portal so I could play. It was like, okay, I just got to work harder, and get my time. So my junior year, Irv was a senior, and our tight ends, we had two starters at tight end. Coach Holtz will always say 1A and 1B. So 1A was Derek Brown, and Irv Smith was 1B. Then Derek graduated, and Irv became 1A, I became 1B. So we're in a scrimmage the week before Northwestern, and I just catch a pass, right, little hitch right over the ball, drop step, and one of my good friends, Nick Smith, who was roommates with Irv Smith, just caught me right here underneath my helmet, fractured my left mandible. So now I got a broken jaw. I got a broken jaw. So this is literally the scrimmage. This is the Saturday before we open at Northwestern at Soldier Field. So the hit happens. I get up. I tap Nick on the butt. Get a hit, dog. I go back to the huddle. My jaw's kind of hurting a little bit, but I'm like, damn, you really rung my bell. Probably concussed, probably, but like, damn, he really rung my bell. And literally the next play, get the play, break the huddle, get to the line of scrimmage. Quarterback calls the cadence, and as a football player, you usually bite down on your mouthpiece before you engage. Man, I bit down on that mouthpiece. I stopped in mid play and walked off the field. So like, it literally, bro, it felt like my face was gonna explode. It felt like my face was gonna explode. So I went over to the doctor, and I don't know what he did. He just touched my face, and he was like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, "What? What?" He's like, "I think you broke your jaw." I'm like, "What? Doc, come on! I can't. We play next week." He's like, "We're gonna examine you." So they send me in. I'm in the training room, and then it was taking them forever. So I go and I sit in the basketball arena, and I'm sitting on the end, like one of the end seats in the arena, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, I can't believe this. In walks Irv Smith, full on tears, like crying. I'm like, bro, what happened? Did you get hurt? He goes, nah, man, like we can't do it without you, bro. We can't do it without you. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, bro, I'm playing next week. He's like, coach said you broke your jaw. I'm like, I'm playing next week, dude. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm gonna be there for you. So literally, bro, they wired me up. The next morning they wired me up. And that next week at Northwestern, I scored 2 touchdowns. Was player of the game.
Oh,
Mhm.
that real Florida energy right there.
Come on, dog. That's that swamp, man. That's that swamp. But Coach Holtz came to the I was in the infirmary, like I was dying, man. It was terrible. I think the worst part of that experience was whenever we won a game. I don't know if they still. I'm pretty sure they probably still did. We'd have what we call victory dinner, right? Because like Notre Dame doesn't have training table, so typically we just eat what everybody else eats, but it's after practice. Well, on Mondays after wins, we get like, steak and shrimp, and, if it's a really big game like USC or Miami, we might get a little lobster tail or something, like we get a little special, but not a lot. And man, I had to go to an infirmary to get milkshakes and like pureed peas and chicken broth, and I'm sipping stuff through it. Bro, it was terrible. It was terrible. It was terrible. I lost like 30 pounds. I'm out there getting tossed around. Coach Holtz is on my head. Where's your ass going? Man, I'm 220 right now. I can't mess with these cats right now. Like, Devon McDonald taking me, throwing me like a rag doll. BY locking me out. And it's just crazy. So I played that whole season, um, up until USC, which was Thanksgiving. I played the whole season with a fractured jaw, and they removed my wires, USC week. It's terrible. I don't recommend it, Jay. I don't recommend it. I don't
Bro,
recommend it.
you pulled through though. That's the real. That's Southern Florida energy for real.
Bro, it
That's
was it
like
was it was
drink.
terrible, man. It was terrible because being a tight end in our offense back in the day, we weren't the pretty boys. We weren't catching passes and running a bunch of routes, and you know we were an extension of the run game. You got Ricky Waters, Rodney Culver, Jerome Bettis, Rocket Ismail sometimes. Kenny Spears, rest in peace, Kenny. Rest in peace, Rodney Culver. And we had a stable of running backs, man. Walt Boyd. We had so many running backs. Coach Holtz subscribed to the belief that three things happen when you throw the football, and two of them are bad. One is an incompletion, and two is an interception. So he's going to run the football. Reggie Brooks, Tony Brooks, like the name, the list, Lee Becton, Ray Zellers, the names just keep coming. And all these guys were phenomenal. Randy Kinder, I can't forget Randy. There was so many guys. Even in my class, Jeff Burris, who was an All-American, came in as a running back. You know, Willie Clark, who was a defensive back, came in as a running back. They both moved to DB. You know, it was nuts, man. We were just built different. And I might have been playing with a broken jaw, and every time I made contact, my jaw might have rattled. It might have hurt like hell. The coaches didn't care. They wanted what they wanted. You know, my job was to execute the standard at the level the standard was supposed to be executed. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be on the field. That's just what it was. And I look back on it, and I think, man, I literally had a broken jaw, man. I'm out there playing, running into these cats, not even thinking about it. Like, not even, this is what it is. You know, I feel like sometimes cats get, sit out of practice with a hangnail. You know, I'm out here fractured up, getting it in. There ain't no, hey, Oscar, sit out of this drill. Or, Oscar, you don't do this. It was like, all right, we got one-on-ones. Let's get it.
Wait, so for you seeing that running back group and seeing all that talent, how was it just witnessing not only Jerome Bettis, but also being there in the 91 Sugar Bowl where he rushed for 2 touchdowns and everyone was kind of underestimating Notre Dame, saying they don't have this person. It's like,
That
talk
was
me through
Oh, bro, that was so beautiful because like Gainesville is the college that's closest to my hometown. So there was a couple guys I knew, like Willie Jackson. I played against in high school, was their number one receiver, and also my cousin. Fee Bartley, who was my host at Florida, was their outside linebacker. Godfrey Miles played linebacker on that team, played for Dallas. He was Oliver Gibson's cousin. So there was a lot of crossover. There was a lot of stories behind that. And, the joke at that time was, what's the difference between Notre Dame and Cheerios? The Cheerios belong in a bowl. Like, that's the kind of stuff we was dealing with, man. Like, they was killing us low key. But, like, to be in that game and, like, that week of practice for that bowl game, we literally practiced inside on a concrete floor, and then because it was raining, we practiced indoors on a concrete floor. Coach told us to wear tennis shoes in full pads. Yeah, I'm gonna say it again. Indoor facility on concrete in full pads. But this is the part that I'll remember the most. We get finished with practice because everybody was like, "What? We out here on concrete?" Like, and we was trying to like keep each other healthy, but still get our stuff done. Coach calls us up at the end. He says, "Hey man, I'm gonna tell you." He said, "I'm gonna tell you something about Florida. Tell you something about Steve Spurrier." He says, "There's gonna come a time in this football game we're gonna be behind." He says Jerome Bettis is gonna run 60 trap. He's gonna score a touchdown. Gonna come back. We're gonna get a turnover. Jerome Bettis is going to run 60, 61 trap again. He's going to score another touchdown, at which time Steve Spurrier will take his headset and throw it on the ground. And we were like looking at each other like, okay, coach, like, cool, But when we got to the game, Jay, that exact thing happened.
Exactly.
Exact thing. Jerome scores on the 65-yard touchdown run, 60 trap. We come back. I believe it was my boy Demetrius Dubose. Rest in peace, D. Got an interception. Jerome runs 61 trap, goes 45 yards. Now, mind you, at this point, we're freaking out. We're like, did coach go see a witch doctor down here in New Orleans? Like, did he put a root on, on Steve Spurrier? Like, bro, literally, as soon as Jerome scored the touchdown, we all looked to the sideline, and Steve Spurrier took his headset and threw it down on the ground. So if you ever see any clips of us at the Sugar Bowl where we're all standing around Coach Holtz jumping up and down, that wasn't the end of the game. That was after Jerome scored that touchdown. And Coach Holtz was like, I told you, man. I told you, man. And we were going nuts. We were like, oh, like we couldn't believe. He literally told us what was going to happen in the exact succession that it happened. Two things happened in that moment, at least for me. And I'm pretty sure I can speak for some of my other teammates when I say this. One, we realized Coach Holtz's brilliance. Two, we realized how dedicated he was to preparing, so much so that he knew the idiosyncrasies of his opponent. He knew what he would do. There was no way Florida was going to win that game. That's why you guys now hear Lou Holtz would never lose a game after 2 weeks of preparation, because you give Coach Holtz 2 weeks, he's going to know every single thing about you. He's going to know how you respond. He's going to know your idiosyncrasies. He's going to know how you think. He's going to be in your head. He's going to know what you're going to do before you do it. And we never, like, I lost one bowl game at Notre Dame, and that was my 5th year, which I shouldn't have taken. We played against Colorado in the Fiesta Bowl and got beat up by, Rashawn Salam and Cordell Stewart and all those guys who had great NFL careers. They had Christian Fourier at tight end, Ted Johnson, who played for years for the New England Patriots. Obviously Cordell Stewart played for the Steelers. They had a lot of talent on that team, and the reigning Heisman Trophy winner and Rashawn Salam. Rest in peace, Rashawn. But bro, it was amazing. That game was amazing because that was the second team from Florida that we had beaten. Because we beat Miami my freshman year, who recruited me. Then we beat Florida my sophomore year. And then fast forward to my senior year, ESPN game day #1, game of the century, Florida State versus Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And then, all those guys from Florida State were my boys. Like, I knew those cats. But those are the cats that were calling me on signing day. Don't do it, Mac. Don't do it, Mac. Come with us. Don't do it. They're going to try to make you Catholic, dog. They're going to try to make you Catholic. Like, bro, what? Stop. But all those guys, William Floyd, who went and played for the 49ers, Eric Brooks, who I actually hosted, and that's a whole nother story. God, James Roberson, Charlie Ward, Corey Fuller, Corey Sawyer, all those guys, man. Like, I knew all those cats. Actually, one of my high school teammates was a walk-on for Florida State, then earned a scholarship. It was actually one of the captains, Kendrick Scott. So that game was crazy. Like, there was so much wolfing going on, man. They were talking so much cash until they stepped on the field, boy. And that we put that dome on them. It was a problem. It was a problem.
So seeing that by Coach Lou Holtz and
Yeah.
being coached under him for 4+ years, what's kind of the biggest lesson or biggest thing that you gained from Coach Lou that still sticks with you to this day and at this age?
Love, trust, commitment. That was it. I use that same slogan for my team. Trust, love, commitment. Can I trust you? Are you committed to excellence, and do you care about me? Those 3 things are what our program was rooted in. And all those guys who paid it forward with me, whether it was Rodney Culver, whether it was Carl McGill, I paid that same thing forward to, Leon Wallace, rest in peace, Leon, and Bertrand Berry. I'm going to take you back to my very first, just so you understand, to answer your question. My very first meeting, the very first team meeting we had at Notre Dame wasn't held by Coach Holtz. So if you've ever been in a Notre Dame meeting room, it's like stadium seating, right? And freshmen, at least back then, freshmen sat at the top, then sophomores, then juniors, then seniors down at the bottom. We're sitting at the top, everybody's laughing and joking, whatever, kind of sitting around. All of a sudden, Coach Holtz hits the door at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And you see everybody sitting up in that chair. Everybody sitting up, seriously, bro, it's telling you. Ask anybody from our era how it was when Coach Holtz, when he hit the door, he hit it at 100 miles an hour. Like, he was mad at the door. Boom. Door fly open, everybody sitting up because we were ready for our meeting. First meeting ever at Notre Dame. I couldn't tell you what Coach Holtz said. I couldn't tell you. But I can tell you what Chris Zorich said after Coach Holtz walked out. I can tell you what Ricky Waters said. I can tell you what Todd Light said. I can tell you what Mike Helt said. Because we were a player-led team. Our leaders were the seniors. Those guys kept us in line as freshmen. And I remember Chris telling us straight up, look, we don't care that you were an All-American. We're all All-Americans here. This is Notre Dame. You will do things the way we do things here. One of my buddies had come in, Marvin Robinson. Marvin had like a soul glow Jerry curl. Chris looked at him and was like, hey, you don't need to get that cut. We don't do that here. We was like, oh, your earrings, all that other stuff. We don't do that in meetings either. Everybody's like taking the earrings out. Like, it was a trip, man. Like the enforcement came from the guys on the team. So if I learned anything from Coach Holtz is love, trust, and commitment is everything. Or I use trust, love, and commitment because obviously trust is the foundational principle. But if you have trust and you love your teammates and you're committed to the process, winning will take care of itself. We never talked about winning. You know, coach would say, what's important now? That was his acronym for win. What's important now? Well, what's important now is for you to take your butt to class. What's important now is for you to get a great workout. What's important now is for you to watch film to understand what the mistakes were that you made or to know what your opponent's doing, what they're trying to take advantage of. What's important right now is for you to go out and have a great practice day, a great week of practice and preparing for this game. So it wasn't about winning the game. It was about the preparation and the selflessness it took to put us in that headspace to be great. Because, I mean, there were so many cats, man. There was so much talent. We would have been just a team with a bunch of talent that didn't win any games. So it was truly, you know, coach's vision and the execution by the seniors that made us who we were.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. It's just to see the impact that they kind of had, that brotherhood as well.
Yeah,
That
man.
brotherhood, the community aspect in Notre Dame, they really
Mhm.
pride themselves on that
Yep.
and do a really good
Man,
job.
till this day, to this day. Like I said, Jeff Burris is at my house right now. He flew in a couple days ago, man. Like he was up in Napa. He reached out to me, hey man, what are you doing? Nothing, man. I'm on dead period with football. He's like, well, I'm in Napa for the next couple days. Come up. All right. Me and my wife hopped on a plane, went up to Napa for a couple days. We left. He reached out to me on Saturday, like, yo, I got a couple days. I'm gonna come down. Like, say less. Well, now he came down to the crib. So those relationships, man, like I said, they were forged in fire, man. Iron sharpens iron.
Exactly. I heard that a lot.
And as much as it was hard and it sometimes it physically hurt, the end result and what was on the other side of that adversity and that struggle was far and beyond anything we actually went through, so to speak, to get to that point. Because we're still in it to
Mm.
this day. Still in it.
So building upon that, your time at Notre Dame and you ended up going to the NFL playing for the both the Cardinals and the Chiefs. What did that transition also look like from now Notre Dame to the NFL and being in the NFL atmosphere? How was that for you, especially mentally, being around, like for example, Tony Gonzalez, being around those greats? How was that for you?
Tony was a puppy, man. Tony, I actually picked Tony up from the airport. Tony was a twig, more of a receiver than a tight end. I used to try to work with him on his blocking a little bit. T guys are good people. But like my first stop was the Cardinals, and the Cardinals weren't a very good franchise at the time. I think we won 4 games my rookie year. And this is gonna sound really arrogant, and I'm gonna apologize to all the people who may not be Notre Dame people or to the players he may interview that are Notre Dame football players. What I saw was some guys who were all pros in the NFL who couldn't have played for Coach Holtz. I'm just telling you, I know for a fact some of those guys they couldn't have played for him, and it wasn't that they weren't athletic. It's just that their technique and things that they did just weren't things that we taught. I can tell you, I was prepared for the NFL on many different levels. Mentally, practices were extremely difficult for us. So when I got to NFL, I was like, oh, okay, practice is an hour and 40 minutes, and we only got one. We only got one live period, and that ain't even live to the ground. That's like thud and keep them up. Okay, we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot.
Yes.
What I did have to learn, and I think I learned that late was the business side of it. Taking care of your body, making sure that you're kind of ahead of the curve, understanding what teams are looking for. But like the preparation for at Notre Dame was phenomenal. A lot of us that came from Notre Dame into the league, like regardless of where we were drafted, played. Like I wasn't drafted. I was starting by the third game of the season. So it really was that preparation. And, I didn't know anything. I'm thinking, okay, I'm a professional football player now. So let's see, I'll live for an hour, watch film for an hour. Let's say practice is 2 hours. That's 4 hours. If I get there at 8, oh shoot, I'm done by noon. Let's go. I'm thinking Short day, right?
Exactly.
Man, whatever, bro. We get there. The first meeting was at 6:30. Special teams meeting at 6:30. What I also didn't know is that if you was late, they fined you and took your money.
Mm-hmm.
But that was never a thing for me. Coach Holtz would that was never
He didn't say that.
there was like those types of things, like, being late, not being where you're supposed to be. There was dudes who missed flights on the way to games and stuff like that was oh yeah, that was never a thing. That was never a thing. Um so and how he taught us, and then I like to say how he raised us in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the NFL was the hardest part about being in the NFL was just continuing to to keep going. It wasn't necessarily about being able to play. It was, preparing your body, staying in shape, staying on top of it, being ready to go. But it wasn't about being overwhelmed or it was too fast or guys were too strong. There's freaks. There's guys, I watched our defensive tackle the center, the quarterback, and the running back all at the same time. Seriously, bro. Seriously. Bro, I'm telling you, we're in camp at Flagstaff, and Eric Swan, I'll never forget it. Dave Craig was my quarterback. My boy Garrison Hurst was a running back. And CBS I don't know if he's still commentating, Ed Cunningham, who's a center. He played at Washington. He did ABC color commentating football for a while. I saw Swan take his hand and push Ed back into Dave Craig as Dave Craig was reversing out to hand the ball off to Garrison. And his arms were so long, and he used to do this celebration called the Swan. Like he did the like little swan. His arms were like 7 feet something, bro. He tackled all three of them. That was my first day of padded NFL training camp. We're doing inside run. I'll never forget it. I'm on the side. I'm not in with the ones. I'm watching, and I see
Mm-hmm.
it happen. I'm like, yo, am I supposed to be here? Like, am I supposed to be here? This dude just tackled 3 people, man. So, but the preparation of Notre Dame was there. Like, it was ingrained in you. Your workout, how you worked in practice, how you worked in Indy. Taking care of what you need to take care of academically. There was, nobody doing the work for you. You know what I mean? Like, you might get somebody to type a paper for you if you're lucky, but they charge you for that. That's like $3 a page. Like, you might write it out, but they still going to charge you to write the paper.
So you played your time in the NFL,
Mhm.
and now you're on to a different, yet another chapter in your life. From being in Florida to Notre Dame, NFL. How does that chapter look like for you? Life after NFL. I know you mentioned coaching, and not instead of playing football, maybe giving your energy to football in a different way. How does that life look like after post?
I think it's outstanding. It's been great for me to learn and to help young people who want to pursue that path. And even the ones who
Mm,
don't want to pursue it in college, I think the value of the game, football has always been transformational. If you look at the very definition of coach, the coach is a vehicle, something or someone who takes you from one point in your life to another point in your life, and I look at my job as a coach is I'm receiving 14-year-old babies from middle school, and with any luck and discipline and trust, love, and commitment, by the time they graduate 4 years later, they're young men, and that process to me, as Jeff and I were talking about yesterday, that looks eerily similar to what my experience was in Notre Dame. I try to emulate what that looked like. Now, obviously, there's certain things I can't do because I'm not trying to be arrested, but um, seriously, bro, there was whew, again, that's in person conversation, but there are things, there are values and moral standards that are a part of that. For me, it's starting to change from that transformational piece that I was talking about to a more transactional piece. What can I get? What's the NIL like? What's the sponsor like? How many players am I going to get? Guys are negotiating that in their NIL. They're negotiating number of plays on top of the money. Now you're negotiating the number of plays you play in a game. So is it really about right? Is it really about the best 11, or is it really about the specific school or university getting their ROI? You know, so I kind of feel like a dinosaur, you know, in a game that's given me so much because of how much things have changed. But for us at Marietta Mesa, we're old school. You know, we're gonna work for it. I don't make promises. What I promise you is that you're gonna work your ass off, and that it's gonna be worth it. And in my 27 years of coaching, it's always been that way. From parochial school flag to high school position coach to coordinator to head coach. It's always the best 11 play. You're gonna work your butt off regardless, so you might as well get it in. You know, and I'm not one of those coaches who will tell you, "Well, I don't have favorites." Like, if a coach tells you he doesn't have favorites, he's lying. He or she is lying to you. They're lying to you. I have favorites. My favorites are the ones who show up early and stay late. My favorites are the ones who take care of what they need to take care of academically, the ones that are looking to do work instead of the guys that are trying to shirk the work, and the guy who has high moral fiber, character, and we have something called the standard. And for us, the standard is, relentless effort, competitive excellence, and unquestioned character. And if you look at those three things, you can put basically anything, you can categorize anything under those three headings, right? You know, relentless effort in whatever you do, whether it's your pursuit of your journalism career, whether it's your academics, whether it's the woman of your dreams, the job of your dreams, you're going to pursue that relentlessly, right? Competitive excellence. You want to compete. Life is
Mhm.
competition, man. Like, nothing's gonna be given to you that's worth having, right? So you might as well get after it. And then unquestioned character. Like, I don't want to wonder if the guy next to me is gonna do the right thing. Like, guys are there are guys who've been phenomenally talented who end up in bad situations because of their character. You know, like, look at my guy Diddy, phenomenally talented, but bro's got demons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's done.
he's cooked. He's cooked, bro. It's Dunskies, right? So, like, that it's that whole thought process, man. Like, we just want to give them, the best possible opportunity, and an understanding. Like, for me and my staff, we don't really talk about wins and losses. It's truly about helping them become their best version. So we do a lot of things a lot of programs don't do. Um, you know, we had this spring we had a financial literacy course. We had a two-part financial literacy course. It's for high school kids. Um, we have our kids were doing yoga every Monday just so they can find their center, find their peace. I don't know, man. I love this game. I appreciate and I'm extremely grateful for everything it's done for me and all the relationships that I have because of it, like including yourself. And now I got another little brother, which is great. Um, but man, I don't recognize it, dude. I don't recognize it. It's different, really different.
It is. Times have changed. Times have changed, and it's mind boggling. It's mind boggling. This is just decisions like this, just so interesting, and it brings me now to just like to wrap it up. Our final question: what would be some advice that you would give to our listeners and viewers on their mental health journey or their balance, the journey of life?
Yeah. What I would say is this: don't be afraid to ask for help. We've been, as men, I'm generalizing, as men, we've been socialized to think that asking for help is weak. It starts from the time we're babies. Think back to when you're out and you're out a mall or out to dinner, or you're somewhere and there's kids and parents, and you see the little boy fall down. And it's like, oh, get up, get up, get up. You're fine. You're fine. Dust yourself off. Little girl falls down. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Are you okay? So we've been socialized to think we're not supposed to be hurt. We're not supposed to cry. We're not supposed to feel bad. Right. Like, that's just what a man is supposed to do. We're not supposed to be able to communicate. That's those are all misnomers, man. If you're not right, and everybody knows what I mean when I say not right. If you're not feeling right, if thoughts are wandering and you can't focus, if you can't sleep, if your appetite is messed up, you need to talk to someone. Don't be afraid of that, because what I found is that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of strength to ask for help, you know, for anyone, not just guys, but there's a lot of people who suffer in silence. And I think, to those people who are suffering, if you're listening to this, you're not by yourself. There are other people who struggle. There are other people who struggled before you, and there will people struggle after you. The difference is, if you really want hope, if you really want to try to get over the hump and move forward with your life, you gotta find some help. You know, um, and there's programs out there. One of the programs that we partner with, specifically for student athletes, is Helinski's Hope. Um, which, if you don't know the story of Tyler Helinski, he was a quarterback, played at Washington State. Um, Led his team to a comeback win. I think at the Poncetia Bowl down in San Diego, maybe the Holiday Bowl. Washington State came back and won, and then he ended up taking his own life like a month later. Friends, he did randomly didn't show up at a workout. Well, that's not like Ty. And then somebody went, checked his apartment, and they found him. So don't suffer in silence. And for those of us who are functioning and moving forward, check on your people. Pick up the phone. Don't text them. Call them. Because even if they don't answer, at least they know when your name pops up. In that moment, they're thinking about you. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say, man. It's like, don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, it's out there. You just have to be willing to take that first step. And I'm pretty sure what you'll find is that you're not the only one, because we all go through it.
Exactly. Wow, wow words, and thank you, Oscar, for taking the time out of your schedule to come and talk to us. We really appreciate this. Is like honestly been a life, just an amazing story, but also just a great connection to brotherhood now formed. Just
100%.
connect. We really appreciate the vulnerability and you sharing your story. And do you have any last words to say to everyone?
Hey, man, look, go Irish. We trying to run that thing back. We trying to run it back, bro. Like,
Okay.
we got unfinished business to do. Like, Coach Freeman has been doing this thing on the recruiting track. We have, our all of us are behind him and what he's doing. And we're ready to put the number one back up on Flannel where it belongs. Back up on Grace. I'm sorry. Back up on Grace where it belongs. So, yeah, man, go Irish forever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We bleed Irish. We bleed Irish. Rich, thank you again for tuning in to this episode. And remember, it's okay to not be okay. You matter. Simple.